The Weight of It All, Part 4. By the time I was expelled from Ioco in May 2005, I already knew school wasn't going to be my thing, but the system still had plans for me. By late September, I was placed in CABE, another alternative school in Coquitlam, bigger than Ioco, maybe 100 kids. Teen moms, kids with behavior issues, ones who just couldn't fit into the regular system. It was a strange mix. I remember my first introduction to Al-Anon at CABE. I sat there, listening to people talk about their parents drinking, their struggles, their trauma. It didn't hit me then. I was checked out. Yeah, my mom drinks, so what? I thought. I wouldn't understand the weight of it all until years later. After too much therapy and too many lost years, I wasn't at CABE long. Early January, I was done. Another fight, another expulsion. It wasn't even that serious. Just a scrap with a kid I used to play community football with. But that was enough. I had nowhere to go. Then came the house party. That night changed everything. That's where I met B and his people. They weren't like the guys I had been hanging with before. These kids weren't just trying to act hard. They were hard. East Van kids. The real deal. There was something about them, something raw. You could feel it in the way they moved, the way they carried themselves. They weren't reckless, they were calculated. I had already picked up a few things at Ioco that made me adaptable, and I slid into their circle easily. It just worked. B, his presence was different. Confident but calm, like a guy who had already seen too much to be rattled. He was the kind of guy people listened to when he spoke. I didn't drink or smoke, but these guys did. I remember standing at parties, gripping the same beer all night, not drinking it. Alcohol never sat right with me. One night, I got into it with my dad. Another argument, another door slammed. I ended up at Low Heat SkyTrain Station, standing there with no minutes left on my Samsung flip phone. I found a payphone, dialed B. Who's this? It's Adam, bro. I need a place to crash. A beat of silence. Then, yo, Mun, come to Gateway. That was all he needed to say. I took the train to Gateway Station in Surrey. When I got there, I saw the gray Cutlass idling at the curb. Two-door, running loud. I got in the back, exchanged high fives and daps, and we drove off. That night I saw things I hadn't before. I didn't know it at the time, but the guys had picked up a new delivery job. Within an hour, I was in the car with them, answering phones, giving directions, watching it all unfold. I should have been scared, but I wasn't. The only thing making me lightheaded was the gas leak in the car. In those first few weeks, I met more people, some smooth, some erratic. All of them players in a game I was just beginning to understand. One of them was Ryan, well-dressed, polite, never had a bad word to say to me. I liked him. A year later, he'd be dead, one of 6 killed in the Surrey 6 massacre. Surrey didn't last long for us. One afternoon, some guy stopped by the house to talk to B. They went into the back room. No one else was allowed in. The next day, we were packing up. No explanations, just move. I remember one night, rolling through 22nd Street SkyTrain Station. Red and blue lights cut through the darkness. And the cops were there, guns drawn. The armor truck, the whole show. Face down on the pavement, the air cold against my skin. Someone laughed. YDC will be warm tonight. They searched the car, turned everything inside out. No gun, no drugs. Nothing they could use. Get out of here. And that was that. A little while later, I found myself back at my parents' house. B needed a place to stash some stuff. Kitchen things, clothes, random odds and ends. My dad wasn't happy about it, but he agreed. 1 week, he said. I still remember him stopping me in the hallway that night. He tapped me on the chest, locked eyes with me. I got a favor or two, Adam. If I need to call one in, you just let me know. I nodded, told him it was fine, but years later I still wonder what the price of that favor would have been. The fire. By spring 2006, I had been with the guys for a while when B invited me to his place in EV to watch sports. I left that night, not thinking anything of it. Said goodbye to his mom, thanked her for having me. She smiled and told me I had nice manners, said I was welcome anytime. That was the last time I ever saw her. The next morning, I was at work with my dad. It was spring switch. We were taking the winter tires off the trucks and putting the summer ones on. 16 trucks, 8 tires each. Hard labor. Then my mom called. She told my dad what had happened. I saw the newspaper, saw the family I had just been with gone. A tragic fire. I couldn't breathe. I collapsed into a chair, then onto the floor. My dad thought I had hit my head, but I was just in shock. Tears streamed down my face. I grabbed my dad's phone and called B. No answer. Then I called another friend. He picked up. His voice was hollow. Yeah, bro. They're gone. The funeral was in Vancouver, off Marine Drive. I'll never forget the sounds of grief that filled that room. The pain in the air. These were people I had just been laughing with, eating pizza with. Now, they were gone. His funeral was in Surrey. I felt the stares from her family. The hate, the blame. A cousin came over, spoke to me, to a few of us who had been close to her. He didn't make it worse. He knew we loved her. He knew we were with her in her final days. I had lived in the Surrey house. She was kind, always had my back when the guys made fun of me for being chubby. She loved B, and he loved her. 19 years had passed. 19 years since we ran the streets of Fleetwood and Cloverdale, since we thought we were untouchable, since I learned that no one really is.